Hey guys, Fox Racing. Welcome back to my channel, guys. I hope you guys doing well. I hope your families are well and safe and healthy. Um, Guys, I just want to upload this video because one of my subscriber asked me this question, and he was kind of specific about the question. He's from New York, um, but initially he asked me a question, and I wanted to clear this up for him. It's very simple. Although like we two states are going through this nightmare, with California and us in New York City. Us, we always been under strict regulation anyway in the first place. So the only reason why I'm uploading the video because my subscriber asked me this question, and he basically he asked me the first question. He says, "Look, as no, if he asked me, he says, can you get a hack license, which is I call it a hack license. It's a license from Tax and Museum Commission that allows you to drive for yellow cab, right? But I told him, yes, you could still get a hack license, which is Tax and Museum Commission license, right? And you could still get that license, but that license from Tax and Museum Commission will only allow you to drive yellow cab at this point. You're only allowed to drive yellow cab if you get a Tax and Museum Commission license. Tax and Museum Commission license, it's a long process. That's why, in my case, I had my license since the 90s. So although I wasn't driving at one point, I kept renewing it. As long as I pass criminal background and drug test, I get to renew my license. Until sometimes, since I kept it updated. So at that point, I had no when I decided 6.5 years ago to get on board with Uber and Lyft, I didn't have to go through that process, which is a lengthy process to get that hack license. Because we in New York City, the only way you could get on board with Uber Lyft is if you already have your hack license with the Tax and Museum Commission. That means that's the process you have to do first in order for you to get on board with Uber Lyft in New York City. And it's unlike any other places around the world where Uber operates. Although Lyft, they're only here in America and in North America and Canada. So to answer your question, yes, you could still get the TLC license, right? Which allowed you to drive for yellow cab at this point, but you cannot get on board with Uber Lyft because of the cap that took place recently back in late 2018. I'm sure you guys know about this, that New York, the Tax and Museum Commission and Mayor's office, they stopped Uber from hiring drivers and hiring and hiring cars, basically. And it happened back in late 2018, I think. And the only reason why Tax and Museum Commission and New York City did that, because they found out that Uber Lyft were saturating the market, and they constantly been hiring drivers at all time, which basically most of these cars were contributing to the traffic congestion in the city, right? And the only way they were gonna, I mean, that's the plan that Tax and Museum Commission and Mayor's office came up with, is that they forced Uber Lyft to stop hiring drivers, and putting cars on the platform, and Uber Lyft, they had to comply. They had no choice, because without Tax and Museum Commission, there will be no such thing as Uber Lyft in New York City, right? So if New York City, like I said, wanted to terminate Uber Lyft base permit, then Uber Lyft cannot operate in New York City. So basically, yes, to answer your question, you can still get a TLC license, but he only allowed you to drive a yellow cab. And he asked me this question, and it was clear. And at that point, he hit me with another question where he says, "Look, okay, you can still get a TLC license. Can you get on? Can you buy a car and get it on and get hired by Uber Lyft, or buy a car and get it on and get it and get it on Uber Lyft platform?" And I told him, no, it's impossible, because the fact that back in 2018, City of New York actually came up with the cap, where they capped the amount of the cars and the drivers, right? So at this point, I mean, the only and he asked me the second question. He says, "Look, can I buy a car and get a full vehicle permit from a taxi and limousine commission, and get the plate, which is TLC plate. I'm gonna upload it up on my picture on my screen. With this plate, that's the only way you could be able to actually get that car through taxi and limousine commission with the plate and the adequate insurance. That's what allowed you to put that car on Uber's platform, right? So it's all about taxi and limousine commission, from license to be able to drive yellows, and be on board with Lyft, to buying a car and having that car on Uber's platform. It's all about TLC. All these things has to go through TLC first before it goes through Uber or Lyft. You know what I'm saying? So he asked me a question. It says, can you get a car? I told him, no, there's no way you could get a car. You know why? Because back in late 2018, the city of New York and Taxi and Limousine Commission put the cap on the amount of the car, and the reason why they did it, they actually stopped Uber Lyft from hiring drivers and cars, because the only way they did it, because they figured that Uber Lyft is saturating the market and they contributing to traffic congestion, right? So they did that cap took effect back in late 2018 and towards 2019. I think the city, they figured out that this cap did not work. There's still cars out there. Fleets, they have too many cars. Most of the cars that are actually licensed by Taxi and Limousine Commission and have that license plate, which is a TLC plate, almost 65%, I would say, they owned by taxi fleet, by fleets. Fleets, they own these cars and they lease them to individuals to be able to drive for Uber Lyft. But at this point, the only way that you actually be able to buy a car and get on Uber Lyft platform, which there is a possibility, although there's a cap on the amount of the cars and the drivers, is if your car actually happens to be wheelchair accessible, or an electrical car, and the car must be 2015 and newer. Anything less than 2015, more likely Taxi and Limousine Commission will not accept your car. So and in order for you to get this wheelchair accessible vehicle or electrical car on board with Uber Lyft today, despite of the fact that there's a cap, right? You could still be able to do it, but you have to be an active driver prior to April 1, 2019. That means if you're not a driver prior to April 1, 2019, an active driver with Uber Lyft, that means you obviously, even if you get a taxi limousine license, you still not be able to get on board with Uber Lyft, nor you could even actually buy a car and put it on Uber Lyft's platform. But there's a possibility that you could actually buy a car today and put it on Uber's platform, is if you already grandfather in as a driver prior to April 1, 2019. Let's see if you already, hypothetically, you're already father in, you already in on Uber Lyft platform. Today, you could buy your own car, but like I said, with these two exceptions, Taxi and Limousine Commission will approve your application to get a taxi, to get a for hire vehicle permit with your plate that says TLC on it, like this plate right here. The only way you could get it today through Taxi and Limousine Commission and get your car through the platform is if the car must be 2015 and newer, and it must be it must be a wheelchair accessible vehicle or an electrical car, because obviously at this point Uber Lyft, they're encouraging people to buy these electrical cars, in order for them to actually be able to use them on their platform. But the only way you could get these cars on Uber's platform is if you're already an active driver prior to April 1, 2019. So you get my point? So let me repeat this. Yes, you could get Taxi Limousine Commission license. That license will only allow you to drive yellow cab, but you cannot get on board with Uber Lyft. But if you actually grandfather into the system with Uber Lyft prior to April 1, 2019, and you're an active driver, today you would have that possibility to get the for hire vehicle permit license from Taxi and Limousine Commission with the plate and adequate insurance, and then Uber Lyft will allow you to put that car on the platform. But that car must be 2015 and newer, and it must be wheelchair vehicle accessible or an electrical car. And that's the only way you could actually be able to get to buy a car and get it on Uber's platform and Lyft on Uber's platform today. So I think I made this clear. Like I said, The only and the only reason back then in late 2018 that Taxi and Museum Commission decided to actually to come up with this rule about the cap, to stop Uber Lyft from hiring drivers is because there were excessive cars, there were too many cars driving in the city with empty with no passengers, and then they did that, and that plan did not work at one point. Those 2019. I think mid 2019 at one point where since Taxi and Museum Commission and Mayor's office found out that the cap did not work and people are still out there driving, right? What they did is they had to come up with the plan where because Uber Lyft they have to consent to every rules and obey to rules that Taxi and the Museum Commission are coming up with. I mean, obviously, if they don't, they're more likely could lose their base permit. You know what I'm saying? If Uber Lyft get the base permit revoked from Taxi and the Museum Commission, more likely Taxi and Museum Commission they will not be able to operate at all. So tomorrow, if Taxi and Museum Commission go and hold all the operation and suspend all these base permits for that are actually already active with Taxi and Museum Commission, that means Uber Lyft cannot operate. So like I said, at one point, 2019, when city decided to put the cap on the amount of the cars and drivers, that plan did not work. In mid 2019, I remember, guys, I uploaded a video about that Uber Lyft were locking us out of our apps because the fact that the only way that we will get locked out all the time, and the only option for you to be online is they came up with this plan, Uber Lyft. Lyft plan was kind of confusing a little bit. You have to have a certain amount of rides during 30 days, and it kind of confusing. At that point, I couldn't even figure out how that, the rules about being online with Lyft, but Uber had that plan where basically, if you in order for you to be online at all time, you have to have 1,025 trips within 3 months. And kind of was excessive because Uber Lyft they caught everybody off guard. Nobody has that amount of right to be able to online at the same time. I can understand if they give us like sort of a warning or something like that they were going to do it so that way people could actually come up with this right, but they did it all of a sudden, and at that point nobody was able to accomplish, especially Uber X drivers. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of 2019, the Uber Lyft they found out these amount of rides they're so excessive, right? What they did, they dropped it from one. I'm speaking for myself as an Uber X. So Uber dropped that 1,025 ride within 3 months. They dropped it to 425 within a month. You as long as you have 425 trips within 30 days, then you could be online at all times. So what I did, I went out that month and I hammered, and I was able to actually be able to accomplish this 425 in less than 30 days. So I was able to be online at that point towards late 2019. Early 2020, January, February, actually, that's when we got hit with this stupid COVID, right? Things got complicated in March. Things went downhill from there. Drivers quit. People quit their work. The city became a ghost town, honestly, at that point. And honestly, I was the only person driving at that point. I'm not going to exaggerate, but there were no one on the road, So obviously, I was making money at that point. I wasn't afraid for anything. Today, I'm healthy. Like I said, I took advantage of the time. I worked, and I've been working, serving my community, whatever. And at this point, like when things got complicated with this COVID, at one point, Taxi and Museum Commission, they let Uber Lyft to actually unlock the drivers. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, we were all unlocked, and still today, we all unlocked at this point, right? We're all allowed to be online. So I assume when things actually go to normal, eventually Uber Lyft will probably go back to that lockdown. So we have to. It's something that remains to be seen. And that's how things gotten to a point now. We still be online, right? We still online, but like I said, the only thing I added this to just tell you exactly what the step went through at this point. And the only reason why I'm doing this video because my friend asked me these two questions, but the second question was a little complicated. I wanted to clear for him. So let me repeat this. If you're grandfathering as a driver and you sign up with Uber prior to April 1, 2019, and you're still driving today, although you cannot actually put car you cannot buy a car and get it through taxi limousine commission and get your car on board with Uber Lyft. You cannot do it, obviously, right? But you still, obviously, you are grandfathering as a driver. But today you could still be able to put a car to actually buy a car, but you and put it on Uber's Lyft platform. But your car, TLC, has that. Sort of a requirement that in order for TLC to give you the plate, the taxi limousine commission plate, and you get your diamond like I do have, which is my car. I had my car 5 years ago. In order for you to get that plate today, being a grandfather in already into the system with Uber Lyft as a driver, is if your car is 2015 and newer, and it must be also wheelchair accessible or an electrical vehicle. That's the only way you could get actually plate from taxi limousine commission and get your car on Uber Lyft today. Although Uber Lyft are not allowed to hire to actually put cars on the platform today. So I hope I made this clear for you. If you have any question, just leave a comment in my comment section below, and I'll be glad to answer your call. I'll be glad to answer your question. And let me repeat again. You could still get a hack license, which is taxi license today. It takes a little bit longer. It takes you from 30 to 60 days. You need to get the test, get the document, pass the drug test, criminal background, fingerprinting, take the test, pass the test, get your taxi limousine license. But that taxi limousine license that you're gonna get today will only allow you to actually be able to drive yellow cab, not to get on board with Uber Lyft. But if you, as a Lyft and Uber driver and grandfather in as a driver prior to April 1, 2019, today, as being grandfather in as a driver with Rideshare app in New York City, you could still be able to buy a car, get it through TLC, and eventually get the necessary document, your adequate insurance, commercial insurance, and you could be able to actually get your car on board with Uber Lyft. But your car must be 2015 and newer, and must be wheelchair accessible on an electric vehicle. This is the only two cars that you could be able to get on Uber Lyft platform. And plus, you have to be grandfathered as a driver prior to April 1, 2019. I hope I make this thing clear. If you guys have any doubt or question or anything like that, leave a comment in my comment section below, and I'll be glad to answer your call at this time. You guys stay healthy. God bless America, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.